10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Manchester
1,
United have
0.
reached the promised land.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Sam here. Don't know what I'm singing. Sam here, United People's TV. It's Tuesday. I'm singing because United haven't ruined my weekend, and it's sunny outside, baby. How is work supposed to get done today? I don't know, but I'm here working. It's 9:30. How are you all doing? Oh, it's 9:30 in England anyway. Apparently, I'm in a very talkative mood, which is handy because I'm here to talk for the next 45 minutes or so. We're here to talk about Ralf Rangnick. We're here to talk about his role, the consultancy role. It's a big reason why Ralf Rangnick took the job on at Manchester United. He refused the initial job offer when it was only a 6-month contract. But when he agreed a deal that included a 2-year consultancy role, he took that job on. We were all a little bit wary, a little bit worried about what could happen. But could we see him come in? I'll tell you what, I've just realized I've forgotten to do, though. I've forgotten to change the little overlay at the bottom of the screen. I'm pretty sure I made it, though. There we go. Let me just bring that on. How are you all doing? I'll read out a few of the names down. I can see there in the comments. Oh, no one ever saw that. Nothing ever happened. Nothing happened. Who we got down here? We've got Ronald Muller watching on YouTube. Good morning to you. We've got Stephen watching on Facebook. Tim Garrod, nice to see you there this morning. What members have we got? We've got Paul Bridgette. Good morning to you. Prakash, didn't see you yesterday. Peter, nice to see you there. Takeoff. Paula, Yash, Anuj, Chris Martin, nice to see you there. Josh, plenty of regular faces, as is always the case here. Nobody saw anything at the bottom there. Nothing happened. Absolutely nothing happened. But United fans, we do fear about what the Ralf Rangnick role is going to be. I know that I've tried to remain maybe naively optimistic about what the Rangnick role is. What I'm going to do today, we're going to run through the article that came out from Sky Sports yesterday. It was quite a long article, I'll be honest, especially for Sky Sports. I like to, churn news out as and when it comes. A lot of detail going in there from Melissa Reddy and whoever was involved in the article. We're going to run through that. We're then going to run through, before I do begin, I want to run through this as some sad news. This came out yesterday from Duncan Drasdo, and it was the really sad news that it was Aleksander Kukin, who was the founder of the Kiev Reds out in Ukraine, sadly passed away after being murdered by the Russians. His wife and his child both successfully had surgery and are both recovering in hospital. But Manchester United is sending out their condolences, and I'm sending out my condolences as well. So I didn't want to sort of do the show this morning without mentioning Aleksander. I was going to do it a little bit later on, but I think it's best to start with it. So I don't actually know at this point in time how you can help contribute to his wife and his child. I think Manchester United down here are saying that the club is exploring a number of ways in which it can offer both support both to his family and Kiev Reds. So I'll try and figure out a way. Maybe we can do that. Maybe as a collective here, United People TV, we can send something across to them and their family. If we can do that, I'll figure out how we can do that, and we can do that because I think we should. Because it's very, very sad. It really is, and I don't say that with any. I don't just do that as a dismissive comment. I'm not here to as a political show. I won't ever be a political show. I can have my comments and my opinions on that. But yeah, it's fucking terrible what's going on there in Russia. And my condolences to every single person affected. We've got a friend who's got family out in Kiev, I think it is. And yeah, it's horrible. We're goddamn lucky in England. We've got no real wars in England. We get a bit of sun, we get a bit of rain. There's no fault line, there's no earthquakes, there's no tsunamis, there's no nothing in England. It's just crap football. At the moment, anyway. But look, let's talk about Ralf Rangnick. That's what we're here to talk about this morning. Let me see who's down here in the comments now. We've still got Yash, we've got Gary Cole, nice to see you there this morning, my friend. Stephen Lawrence, nice to see you there as well. We've got Atik from Bangladesh. Carl, you're saying my mic sounds echoey. Maybe I'll step away from the microphone a little bit. Maybe that's the issue. I might actually get some soundproofing and put it on the wall. I was thinking about this the other day. Get some soundproofing, put it on the wall there. Maybe that'll increase the quality of the sound. We've got a new blackout curtain coming soon because it's so bright here now that sun keeps creeping through and ruining the camera. Although you can't see it now, but on that sofa, we've got the new camera as well. So over the next week or so, hopefully the quality is going to jump up a bit and everybody's going to love it. That's what I think anyway. But look, let's talk about this role. This is the important bit of news that we've got this morning. You saw my video yesterday. hopefully you enjoyed it. Those videos take a significantly longer time to do, but I wanted to do one. And I'm half inclined to do one today on Mauricio Pochettino because I think I've said this to you before. I've said it every single time I've talked about Ten Hag and Poch. I genuinely think that on paper, there's very little really to choose between the two, apart from opinion, apart from who you think will be better. Because when it comes to like matching the two up against each other, yes, Erik Ten Hag has won the Eredivisie, and then Pochettino's still yet to win it, but he's going to win it this year. He's won the French Cup. He's failed in the Premier League, but then he's got Premier League experience. There's so many pros and cons to both. I think that it will be foolish of me to try and be like impartial in this whole situation. I mean, I'm trying not to be impartial, but you've got to take both sides of the coin, right? And I think we've got to do one on Poch. So I might do one on Poch today. I might do one on Poch tomorrow. I'll see how I'm feeling because it's bloody lovely outside. I want to go outside. I'm joking. Well, I'm not joking, actually. But look, let's run through this Sky Sports article. I really am waffling this morning, aren't I? I'm in a waffly mood. That's what happens when there's sunshine. I just get a bit distracted. Subhan, you're right in the comments there. The map is Fridays only. The fabled map. It comes out on Fridays. But I remember when I did it at the start, I was excited because there were so many people going on the map. I was like, yeah, do it every day, do it every day. And then people were like, Sam, man, I come on here to hear you talk about the news. Can you stop putting pins on a map? I'm like, okay, fair enough, right? Fair enough. I'll only do it on Fridays. So that's what I've done now. And you're coming in chipper this morning. I've said before, calling Poch useless is nonsense. He is a good manager, whether we like it or not. And that's exactly where I stand. I'm not going to sit here, and I've said this before. Let's not all get egg in our face. I know we want Ten Hag, but there is a significant possibility that it could be Pochettino. Absolutely could be Poch. Would not in any way, shape or form surprise me. Even if Erik Ten Hag is the popular opinion, it wouldn't surprise me. So I think I should do. I've already got it half prepared anyway. So I will do it. I just don't know whether I'm doing it today or tomorrow. I'll decide. But let's run through this article because I've always held Ralf Rangnick. Let me pull this up just there. I've always held Ralf Rangnick as basically like the bastion, the champion of change at Manchester United, the first face of this new beginning that we've got going forward and the restructure that we all know that we need behind the scenes. And I think, and I thought, and I still think that Ralf Rangnick is going to play a significant role in that. But in terms of the actual clarity on what his role is, we don't know. And we've never known that. I've said I've always had this inkling all along that when he moves into that consultancy role, it would get more formalized into a sporting director role of sorts. That's getting dismissed in this article. What I'm going to do is run through this article with you and let's talk about it. Very random question here from me, Ash. It's so random, I'm going to answer it. Would you go to an NFL game at Spurs Stadium? Hell yes, I would. That stadium is insane. I would absolutely go there. No question. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't you? Tim, you're saying, I have a feeling that the Poch deal has already been done. Well, your spidey senses are tingling there, Tim, because mine aren't. I don't really... Look, we all hope that a deal is going to get done by the end of the month. This article dismisses that as well. Let's run through this article and let's pick it apart and let's run through the points, and I want to get your opinions on each and every point that it makes. Let's go. Let's run through it together. Boom. There's the three men in question, I suppose. The man in the middle who's there right now and the two men who are likely to replace him. Well, one of them. They're not both going to come in, obviously. Let's go down and see what the article's saying. Manchester United have still not internally outlined the nature of Ralf Rangnick's consultancy role. Sky Sports News has been told it's not envisaged to be very hands-on. Now, that's going to raise immediate alarm bells and immediate red flags for a lot of United fans who have always felt that when Ralf Rangnick moves into that role upstairs, that he's not really going to be given that much power. He's not really going to be given that much control. And therefore, what's he really going to do? I understand that pessimism. I've always hoped, not blindly, but I've always just hoped that he would be given a bigger role than maybe some think he will. But maybe I was wrong all along, eh? But let's go down and read this article together. No meetings have taken place yet with the interim manager regarding the design of his future position, which comes into effect on the 1st of June. United's hierarchy took the decision to put strategic planning on hold to allow Rangnick full focus on trying to salvage this season through coaching. As such, even the basics of the agreement like where the German would be based, have not materialized. Now, this is about, I'll be honest, it's about the most Manchester United thing I've ever heard. You know, whenever we were signing Sancho and we were like, why can't we go after a midfielder? Why can't we do more than one thing at once? Kind of feels like that here. The Manchester United didn't have the capacity and the manpower and the brain power to have Rangnick be in that position as an interim manager, and also at the same time negotiate what his role as a consultant would be. I mean, that's exactly what John Murtough's job is. Exactly what his job is to do, is to define that role and to come to Ralf Rangnick and say, here you go, Ralf. This is what it's going to be. Ralf shouldn't be involved in every single piece of the construction of that role. He should be the person that you go to and say, look, this is the role, Ralf. What do you think? And he'll say yes or no. Okay, tweak it here or there. The idea that he's involved in every part of the process, that's not what happens. That's not what happens. That's not what should happen. Let's scroll down and read a bit more. Richard Arnold, United CEO, has been described as a contrast of Woodward. Yes, please. As he is more collaborative and grants greater responsibility to staff, was incredibly open to the idea of recruiting Rangnick in a dual-purpose capacity. It is understood that Arnold is invested in widening the brains trust at the club and keen to have Rangnick's knowledge on tap until 2024. But his core expertise, structurally overhauling a club and implementing sustainable, successful methodology, has so far gone unused. This is on account of the state of play when he was appointed, blah, 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 blah. It kind of, I want you to let me know what you think in the comments here. Before I move on, before I just start reading down the next part of the article. Rangnick does have that knowledge on tap. And maybe what we're looking at here when we see Paul Mitchell at Old Trafford at the under-21s game alongside Ralf Rangnick, we all thought, oh, maybe that's someone that's going to come in, work alongside Ralf Rangnick, work underneath Ralf Rangnick, and so maybe we got it wrong all along. Maybe it's going to be Paul Mitchell coming in and Ralf Rangnick simply not even formally being involved in the whole behind-the-scenes process, but him simply creating it, and from a consultancy position only, and that he won't be involved, that he won't, for example, stay in Manchester. That's a big thing. You know, Rangnick can hardly be this consultant who is going to make any sort of substantial change at Manchester United if, come the end of May, he's moved out and he's gone back to Germany. Now, I know that he was a sporting director of both Salzburg and Leipzig at the same time. So technically, he wasn't in one place, but that was under the whole Red Bull brand. So it's a little bit different. Planning, okay, I think this is a bit fair. The article feels like 5 different stories from 5 different timelines put together in a single post. That's kind of the vibe I get, because it's such a long article with so many different points. I've actually had to split it into 2 talking points. The first one we're talking about now is all about Ralf Rangnick, and the second part here is all about their comment on who our next manager is going to be. Attic saying Rangnick is watching cricket. What the hell? I didn't know Germans like cricket either. But look, if I've got a week off and I can go to the West Indies to watch cricket, I go and watch cricket. I don't even like cricket that much. Let's go down and see what you're saying up here in the comments. Ian, with a good comment, saying surely his role would have already been agreed before he even started. Now, on paper, yes, Ian, you're spot on. That's exactly what should have happened. But remember that Ralf came in an interim basis when Manchester United were effectively desperate, and we needed a quick one after the Watford game. We all know what we should have done at that time. Let's rewind. We should have sacked Solskjaer in the build-up to that Watford game, had a week where the interim manager came in, got to know his squad, and then went into that Watford game. And it would have taken away the sort of the rushed nature of our first few games. Although saying that, we did win 1-0 against Crystal Palace after 1 day's training. And that was probably one of the better games under Ralf Rangnick, ironically. Josh saying, Sam, any word from Guido on Ralf? Me and Guido are having a chat this week. We're going to be speaking on Thursday or Friday, I think. Already set that interview up. So I'll find out. All right. Let's go down here. Marcus saying, Ralf has just shown us we don't have a team that competes with other teams. Poch won't change this team. I disagree. I know I'm definitely going to have to do a video on Poch. I've already done a little conversation about Poch, right? I said we need to talk about Poch, and we went through that together. Pochettino is not a bad football manager. It's what Ant said earlier. I know that in our minds, the fact that he didn't win the Premier League with Spurs that year, the fact that he lost the Champions League final with PSG, with Spurs, and the fact that he lost the league to Lille at PSG, failure. Therefore, you dismiss every other bit of work that he did that was successful. It's not the case. Spurs was never a club, ever. Still isn't. Probably never will be. Never will be a club that is geared to winning the Premier League. It was an overachievement for Pochettino to get that Spurs team on the verge of winning the Premier League title. So for him to fail at that doesn't, in any way, shape or form, label that season as a failure. It's still an outstanding success, the team he built there and what they still got there, right? So I've never ever said that Pochettino is a bad manager. Yes, I've got fears about that failure, but everybody had those fears about Klopp. Obviously, he'd done well at Dortmund, but he'd lost every final he'd been in, I think, up until that point. And he lost his first one. And he lost his first Champions League final. It was like, never going to do it. What happened? He went on to fucking win it all. And this is what I mean about Pochettino and Ten Hag. As I said, I think it really is just on a flip of a coin. There are pros and cons of both. I personally would really much rather have Ten Hag because of the curve I think he's on, because of I'm tired of getting managers that people were talking about 3-4 years ago, 4, 5, 6 years ago. I want to get the manager that everybody's talking about now, that everybody's talking about what's he going to do in the future. A bit like what it would have been if we got Nagelsmann and Bayern Munich didn't get him. But Bayern Munich did get him and we didn't. Bye. Ten Hag, and it's something that you saw in my video yesterday. Ten Hag takes a lot of his coaching experiences from Guardiola, from the fact that I think he was the assistant man, if I remember correctly, he was the assistant manager at FC Twente, and instead of going from being an assistant manager to then moving up to a manager position, he went from assistant manager at Twente and went back down 3 notches, went back to being a youth team coach, just so he could learn from Pep Guardiola at Bayern Munich. And fair play to him. Fair play to him for doing that. Happy Coding said, you say, where did that go? You say it's flip of a coin. The vast majority of fans want Ten Hag. Yeah, absolutely. But it is still, when I say the flip of a coin, I mean that if you were to fairly, completely objectively put the pros of Ten Hag and the cons of Ten Hag right next to the pros and the cons of Pochettino, hand on your heart, there is not a standout candidate. It's not like a huge landslide. It comes down to opinion. Anchor, you're saying Poch did a good job everywhere before PSG. I still don't think either he or Ten Hag are right for the job. We need someone else, even a Simeone. I honestly couldn't disagree with that anymore, Anchor. There's absolutely no point in having a conversation about Simeone because he's not leaving. He's not leaving Atletico. It's like somebody commenting saying, you know what we need right now? I think we need a Pep Guardiola. You might be right. I mean, of course you are. Guardiola would be a great coach. Why are you having that conversation? It's not going to happen. So why waste your time? That's really what I felt about the Tuchel video. And I kind of undernarred about doing it, but I did it because there was too much conversation about him, so I couldn't ignore it anymore. Lo and behold, I was correct. Lo and behold, all of us were correct. There's no chance that he's leaving Chelsea. Simeone is an athletic legend. Yes, he absolutely is. Dale, what are you saying over here on Facebook, my friend? Ideally, we need a manager who can get the best out of the players. Whoever comes next manager will get back for the first season, then it will be the same old story. See, that's where this has to be different, Dale. And that's where we hope that Ralf Rangnick's role will make a difference inside that, because Ralf Rangnick will be coming in and making sure that there's an actual, Manchester United, right, have talked about long-term managers and long-term plans and building, because that's what Fergie That's a mindset that Fergie instilled at the club, which was the correct mindset. You know, football works in cycles. Sometimes it will take you 2-3 years to get there, and then you can have 3-4 years of like dominance, but then that team's going to start to fall apart, and you might go through a cycle again of 2-3 years to build that team back up to do it all again. And Fergie did that like 3 times, 4 times. And I've told you, this is probably the thing I find most impressive about Ten Hag is the fact that he did that 2018-19 and lost all of those players. De Ligt, De Jong, Van der Beek, lost so many players in that team. And look at them now, 2021, 3 years later, again, football cycles. And he's shown that he can not only do it, but stay at a club, lose everything, and have the strength of character and the authority to build it all again with new faces. Same idea, same philosophies, same style, same tactics, different players, same results. Arguably even better and slightly adapted because he's got Sebastian Haller in there now. Didn't have a 6'3" like target man back in 2018, did he? It was more of a diminutive team. But maybe this is why for me that Rangnick role is so significant, because that would actually indicate proper long-term planning, wouldn't it? I think without Rangnick there, it's as someone just said there in the comments, who's to say he's not just going to get back for a year and then all of a sudden it's the same old story. And it will be the same old story unless the board structure is different at Manchester United, unless the football structure is different at Manchester United, which is why the Rangnick situation is so important. Charles is saying, I love you, Sam. Oh, thanks, Charles. The United board should make this decision as soon as possible, whether Ten Hag or Poch. I don't really want to sign a Poch. I like porches. They're quite nice outside the front of a house. You can get the mud off your shoes before you go in the house, but I'm not sure Poch will be decent in the Premier League. But look, jokes aside, a really crap joke aside, by the way. Yeah, it should be ASAP Rocky. It really, really should. There's no reason, in my opinion. I mean, there is a reason. Ajax are still going through their season and they're in a title race. So yeah, there is definitely a reason for why they would not want this conversation to happen right now. But fuck it. At that point, I don't care. Man United got to be ruthless, right? Man United have to be ruthless here. Be the arseholes, United. Piss Ajax off if you need to. If it means getting your man at the end of the day, piss them off. Simple as that. I've got no moral quandaries about that. Because ideally, they would want to wait until the end of the season. But what we need is a deal done so we can then allow Murto and whatever goes on in the football structure behind the scenes to start focusing on transfers. Because United have got so much to do this summer. It's insane. It really, really is. Ruud as manager. Well, can Ruud come in and be a sort of an attacking coach? Has there been... I'd love you to let me know in the comments here. Has there been a more clinical striker ever at Manchester United in the Premier League? Yes or no? Type in the comments. Because I don't really think there is. Inside that 12-yard line from the goal? Probably just inside the 18-yard box. Ruud, man. And if you were lucky enough to be old enough to remember that team that he came into, man, Ruud van Nistelrooy. And we signed him a year later because he had that knee injury. We were going to sign him. I think it was from PSV that we signed him. Oh, man, Ruud was incredible. Rooney playing alongside him as well. Keane was there. Louis Saha times. Giggs. Scott. I love Ruud. I'm happy you're saying you have to go back to Dennis Law. Little P. That's a good shout, actually. Hernandez was clinical, but is in his own sort of fashion. I would definitely put my house on I would actually. On Ruud van Nistelrooy, I would. And that goal against Fulham, obviously completely different from the halfway line. Always will go down as one of the greatest goals that he scored. Berbatov, some of you saying in the comments here. And you're saying, no, his conversion rate was astonishing. Absolutely astonishing. Marcus is a good shout there with Van Persie. And it's a shame, that Fergie retired. Otherwise, I think we would have seen that Van Persie for probably, realistically, another 2 seasons, I reckon. That's how good Van Persie was, right? Remember when I remember where I was. I think I was away on holiday down in like Cornwall when we signed Van Persie. I remember that. Toya, thank you very much for Super Chat, Toya. Appreciate that. I really, really do. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. Hello, Sam. You said it previously. Ten Hag, for me, is the solution for a long-term plan to build a new modern football club, culture, and philosophy. There's no shame in looking at what Arsenal and Liverpool are currently doing. Toya, it's a perfect comment there. And I think if you're looking at Arsenal, the most impressive thing that Arteta did was get rid of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. That really stood out to me. That was a captain that was undermining the culture that Arteta wanted to build in the club. And this is their highest paid player, their top goal scorer, their best attacker, the biggest name. And Arteta still said, sod this, get out of the club. And look at what Aubameyang's gone to do at Barcelona. I'm going to have a little conversation about that, Xavi in Barcelona, after a ridiculous article was written by the Telegraph yesterday. But what Aubameyang's done there, he scored 2 there and got an assist in the Clasico. I think he's got like 9 goals or something at start. It's fantastic what he did. People are saying it's a little bit laggy. Nothing I can do about that. Hopefully it will resolve itself. The internet's been pretty damn good for the last few months, but I think the internet knows it's sunny outside as well. Like the fibre optics just going away for a little quick suntan, little cheeky mojito. But look, I think Arsenal have done, you can't deny the good work that Arteta has done there now. He stuck to his philosophy, he stuck to his ideas, and it's starting to come through. It's impressive and really annoying. Really, really annoying. And Liverpool, well, we don't need to talk about Liverpool, do we? We really don't need to talk about Liverpool. Ten Hag, you'll know what I think about Ten Hag, and I will continue to push the Ten Hag propaganda. Let's go back to this article, and let's continue to read about what it says. It says that Rangnick is highly unlikely to become a sporting director at Manchester United. United's Champions League exit allows more time for some forward planning, but the notion that Rangnick could operate as a loose version of a sporting director, helping John Murtough and Darren Fletcher knit a solid strategy behind the scenes, has been labelled as hugely unlikely. Sources have intimated his role in all probability will be centred around sharing insights on innovation, scouting, and linking the club with bright football minds rather than fundamentally altering their setup. I'll tell you what, that's why. 1 second. Why I switched off my phone? There we go, ladies and gents. Apologies. My microphone switched off. What's it doing that for? People. I swear it's trying to annoy me these days. That should be better, I think. Apologies about that. The microphone switched to the standard MacBook microphone. But it's all fixed now. It's all fixed. So drop a like on the video if you like that. Because, it's better. But look. Sky Sports here is saying that it's unlikely that he's going to become a sporting director. That kind of is a little bit gutting to me. I really genuinely saw him heading our football department. Really being the man with the experience. Really being the man that could teach John Murtough. Because I've got no doubt that John Murtough has capabilities. Do I want him at the helm? No, I do not. I wanted Ralf Rangnick at the helm. Darren Fletcher. I think I'm more confused about Darren Fletcher than I am about anybody at the club. And I have been about anybody at the club. It doesn't really make any sense what Darren Fletcher's done or doing. He's been a technical director. He's been like a first team coach. He's been like an academy coach. He's like the handyman at the club. Him and Lee Grant sometimes go out there and serve lunches from the canteen. That's what I imagine anyway. I hope that it was going to be a sporting director role, but according to Sky Sports, and I'm not saying this is gospel, just saying this is the latest news is saying that it won't be formalized into that sporting director role. Now, if that is the case, then in my opinion, we need to appoint a sporting director. If we're simply going to try basically like use Ralf Rangnick, where is it? Where is it that said that? Centered around sharing insights, just like that. You basically like going to him just pure. I mean, I suppose that is kind of the definition of a consultant, isn't it? Somebody that you go and consult, right? But I think Rangnick had the capability to be more than that at Manchester United. Maybe he doesn't want to be, right? That's part of it. You got to think about that. I personally think he would be, but maybe he doesn't want to be. Marcus, you're saying that Ralf is the guy. I personally think so as well. Malps, what are you bringing that up for? Everyone's in a good mood this morning. Well, actually, not in that good a mood. That yellow against, you mean that red card against Fabregas in the Champions League semi. I think that was the year that we lost in Rome against Barca, and Ronaldo had an absolute stinker. Man, that was such a sucker punch. Absolute sucker punch. The article was bullshit from Reddy, says Sam. Well, we can't say that with any confidence, but we can have a conversation about it this morning. As I said, I don't take any sort of article as gospel, but they raised talking points for something like this. I could talk about what Neil Custis said about Erik Ten Hag yesterday, but I'm not mentioning that melt's name on here. He's an old, bitter, old man, old journalist, old guard, hasn't modernized. Don't listen to anything he says. Let's go down here and let's see what else this is saying. It was highlighted that consultancy, in essence, suggests separation and independence, which is kind of what I'm saying there. I mean, that kind of is the definition of a consultant, right? But United need more than a consultant, don't we? That's the thing. If we had this whole structure in place at Manchester United, we had like John Murtough, we had another like two heads alongside him, and maybe there were sort of internal appointments that had potential inside those roles, but ultimately didn't have the experience or the knowledge for them, then maybe the idea of simply having a consultant like Ralf Rangnick would make sense, because he'd be able to consult them, help them in their positions. If they had any questions, they'd then have someone to turn to and listen to. But we don't have that person at the helm. We need somebody, and we don't have that wide structure at Manchester United. We've effectively only got John Murtough. And I'm not being unfair on Darren Fletcher. It's just I'm not really involving him in that conversation. Until I never see Darren Fletcher on a bench again, I won't look at him in anything more than an assistant coach at Manchester United. You can't be a technical director of the club and then sit on the bench and get booked in a Champions League round of 16 game against Atletico Madrid. That's not a technical director. That's someone who's sort of like dipping in and out, having a little bit of this. It's like one of those it's like dip pots you get from Sainsbury's. One little Tex-Mex, a little bit of cheese one in the corner, a little bit of guacamole. So what Fletcher's doing. He's dipping his chips in every single one. Choose your flavour and stick to it. That's what he needs to do. That's what he's not doing. And I think that's probably because of a lack of clarity over his role, in the same way that right now there's a lack of clarity over Ralf Rangnick's role. Let's go down here and see what you're saying. Fletcher is the mole, says Leslie. All the spy on Rangnick. That's his main job as technical director. I mean, someone is the mole, right? We'll speak about that as we go down the article. And Yash, you're saying, I make my own guacamole. That one is vile. It is. I'll be honest. It is. I don't really like that little dip selection. None of that. Just need a nice hummus, some fresh homemade salsa, and make a nice yogurt dip. Homemade yogurt dips. Underrated. Why don't people make more of them? I don't know. There we go. And it's like hiring Dave from the pub to sort your IT out when you have Bill Gates on speed dial. Typical United, frankly. Well, have you got Bill Gates on speed dial? I don't. Paul Vidret, how you doing, Paul? Saying, I'm 5 months here. I'm worried about the player's mindset. Whoever comes in could be the same old story when Mourinho got us trophies. Well, big up to your 5 months. And obviously, look, big up to Mourinho and what he did at United, okay? There's no doubting that Mourinho was successful in his own right at Manchester United in that season with Ibrahimovic, with Pogba, with Mkhitaryan, when we won the double. We won the double. I remember going to St Etienne for our 1-0 win away in February, and 3 days later going to Wembley for the Southampton game. It was great. Watching United at that time, it had its enjoyment. It wasn't like perfect football, but it was the Mourinho style of football. But it didn't bring any sort of sustained success. Partly that was Mourinho's style. Partly that's because it's just what Manchester United is right now. Jonathan, though, you got me distracted because I bloody love Baba Ganoush. Smoky, aubergine, Baba Ganoush. C'est bon. C'est bon. I don't know why I went French there. Because Baba Ganoush is certainly not French. But I love Baba Ganoush. Why am I talking about food so much? I must be hungry. Let's go down there and let's feed on some more information in this article. My God, I really am just chatting some real shit this morning. The 63-year-old, what's it saying down there? United have a pretty good idea where the briefings are coming from and are keen to erase. This is a very important point here. That requires highlighting in bright green. Keen to erase a self-serving culture. That is what Manchester United is right now. I had a friend yesterday who said, like, until you change the concept of Manchester United to players, and you don't bring players in who are simply there for the payday, but you bring players in who actually
want success. The measure of success in their career is not how much money they make, but how many trophies they win. And until you switch that mentality, you're not really going to fix Manchester United. I thought it was a very good point. And Alex is actually going to be part of the podcast, which starts very, very soon, by the way. Very exciting times. The podcast is something I've been working on for so long. And I just haven't ever been able to get it started. Hopefully, aiming to get it started. Probably not this weekend because it's an international break. Do it next weekend after the Leicester game. That's what I want to do. Jonathan, you're saying more worried about a mole and getting more worried about a mole than going and getting a manager. Dithering yet again. Dither, dilly. That's what Manchester United certainly do. And we do that very well, actually, don't we? Probably better than any club in the Premier League. There is an appreciation that Rangnick has not... Yeah, it's weird. Why am I even reading this? Sod that. Let me just move on to what they're saying about new managers. This is... I'll be completely honest. There's not a major update from yesterday and the conversation we had about Ten Hag, about Poch, and about everything. There's no major update as to now. Let me just quickly check to make sure there isn't whilst we're live here. There's no major update on Ten Hag, on Poch, or anything. All right. So that's why I haven't titled the video "Huge Update on Ten Hag." Blah blah blah. As soon as that happens, you'll get it here on United People's TV. But this is what Sky Sports was saying yesterday. And what I will say before reading this is Sky Sports haven't exactly been leading the way with any sort of news on this story at any point, really. Sky Sports News once upon a time was the cream of the crop. When it was Sky Sports News official, you took it seriously. That is not the case anymore. Sky Sports News has definitely sort of disappeared, faded into the mist. Anyway, what's Sky Sports saying? Poch, Ten Hag, Julian Lopetegui, and Enrique are the options being vetted by United. We already knew that. The club want a manager in situ ahead of the new season, but suggestions that a pre-agreement could be struck by the end of this month, as one employee puts it, is overly optimistic. Well, that's what we're hoping for. Okay? I went on record. I said, was it last week? I think it was last week. I was like, I want Manchester United to get it by around about the 22nd of April. That's 1 month before the end of the season. I think that's completely realistic. Getting it by the end of March, maybe that's a little bit keen. Maybe that probably won't happen. But I think the deadline should be the 22nd of April. And by the way, I've just remembered, it has been exactly 1 year to the day since I had that surgery on my ankle. Funny that. Look at that. Go me. Stephen Lawrence, I've supported United for 44 years and I've never seen the club run this badly. It's a joke. The Glazers have a lot to answer for. Well, they have so much to answer for, but let's be honest, they're not going to answer it. So many promises were given to us post the collapse of the European Super League, and so many promises have just been completely broken the entire way through already. That's what the Glazers do. And that, unfortunately, will never, ever change. Right? While there is some bafflement from United over why Lopetegui and Enrique have been faded out of talks surrounding the job, multiple sources have admitted they will be surprised if Ten Hag or Poch were not at the helm. I've said this all along, right? I've said this for quite some time. It's Ten Hag or Poch. That's why the idea of Tuchel, for me, surprised me. I was like, that's just, in my opinion, an unnecessary distraction and an unnecessary conversation that shouldn't be happening at our board level. It should be all about Poch and all about Ten Hag. And Jesus, how long does that take? All right. I've told you, they don't need to do any new research on Poch. Just dust off the old folders. There you go. They haven't needed to look at 3 weeks into the psychology of Poch. What they're doing, following him around with cameras, trying to look into his private life like some sort of Jason Bourne sketch. It's weird. How much work do you have to do? Ten Hag, maybe slightly different because we're looking into a manager that we haven't looked into before. But the Poch situation shouldn't really need that much. All right? Thea, you're saying, Sam, you should watch Fabrizio's YouTube. Hopefully I'll be getting Fabrizio on here quite soon. I'm speaking to him at the moment, so I'll get him on hopefully quite soon. Saying, Jonathan, have you got any constructive suggestion to help remove our owners? I wish I did, Jonathan. Past what Manchester United fans have been doing for a long time, past what Manchester United fans are already doing, there really is nothing. And honestly, it hurts me to say it, But the true reality is the Glazers will not sell Manchester United until they want to sell Manchester United, until they get an offer which they cannot refuse, comes in to buy them. And the only people who really can do that now, unless you're part of a consortium, and consortiums come with their own problems, because the concept of a consortium is there isn't one person rich enough to buy the whole club. So you put 4, 5, 6 names together and you build a consortium, and that buys the club. That's exactly what's going on at Chelsea at the moment. I don't know how many are involved. I know it's Candy. Is it Nick Candy who's one of them? I don't know who else is part of that consortium. But at Manchester United, it will be one of two options if the Glazers were to leave. Number one, a consortium like that. And that would probably appeal most to Manchester United fans, because we could have we could build a consortium of fans that could buy like 5, 10% of the club and actually have real fan part ownership. But then that would come with lots of his own problems. A consortium's going to have, as I said, 3, 4, 5, 6 people who all have part shares of Manchester United. A bit like what happened pre-Glazers when we had Magnier. Can't remember the name of the other one. 2 guys who fell out with Fergie. That could have his own problems, because you've got 4 or 5 people who might have different opinions. But then what else could happen? We could become a state-run club. We could get bought by Saudi Arabia. We could get bought by Dubai. We could get bought by someone. And all of a sudden, there's different moral questions that we're asking ourselves, that we're not asking ourselves with the Glazers, who are completely and utterly horrendous owners. But so are the owners of Man City. So are the owners of Newcastle in their own rights. That's what I mean. It's weird. Newegg. I remember Newegg. Back in the day, fun fact, I used to play competitive games. And I remember when I was trying to build a computer from Newegg, but I didn't live in the UK. I didn't live in the USA. It was so much cheaper on Newegg. Really annoyed me. And you're saying there's literally no incentive for the Glazers to sell the club. We are the cash machine that gives on given. Why would they give that up? They would give that up. They would give that up if somebody came in with a big enough offer, because they could take their money out and then start investing it elsewhere. And just like Avram Glazer's done. That's why he's out there. He's probably out there trying to flog his own money as much as he's using the Manchester United brand. Paul Bridget. Has Gary Neville approached United People's TV to talk to us, Sam? Not at the moment. Not at this moment in time. I tried my hardest after Gary retweeted our video. But look, keep pushing Gary on Twitter. That's what I would say. Tweet him, and tag United People's TV in it. The more we do that, and the more we pop up in his timeline, the more likely it is that we can reach out and get a conversation. I've got a couple of links that I might be able to get his number. I'll try that, and hopefully that'll work. But you never know. Let me see what else is going on down here. Any more questions, by the way? You know the drill by now. Fire them in. Fire in questions if you would, and you'd like to support the channel. Fire in a super chat as well. I always answer the super chats. I always answer as many comments as I can throughout the whole show. And I'm glad, by the way, that I've set the comments to members only. Because not members only, sorry, subscribers only. Because too many people were jumping on the channel and just trolling the comments. They can do that if you want, but they're going to have to subscribe first. Easy as that. Right. Gary Neville for Prime Minister. Can't exactly be worse than Boris Johnson, eh? Sam, why do people want Poch despite him having proven to be a big club flop? Look, you can say that, and I can say yes, but he's also proven that between the years of 2016 to 19, he built a team at Spurs with very little money up against City and nearly won the league and built a superb team. Got rid of players, brought players through. The unity that he built, the squad that he built, got to the Champions League final. He massively overachieved in those 3 years, given the investment levels he was given compared to the rivals around him at the time. People, look, trust me, I want Ten Hag. Trust me, I want Ten Hag. But let's not try and change the narrative of history and just say that Poch is a bad manager. Because all of us, pretty much all of us, would have wanted him in 2019 instead of Solskjaer. Maybe not instead of Solskjaer, but it was at that time pretty much unanimous. No, not unanimous again, but back in 2016, obviously that was prior to the 3 years and what happened at Spurs, we would have loved him instead of Mourinho. So let's not change that narrative, right? Let's not change history because it suits what we want now with Ten Hag. It's what a lot of people do. And it's just the way it goes, right? Just the way it goes. Why I'm saying this channel is a real fan channel, not personalized like others. Don't want to throw them don't want to throw in names. Well, appreciate it, man. Look, I always try on this channel. Sometimes my opinion comes across, but the majority of the time, I think it's because, as I said, I'm a trained journalist. I know people like to not believe that, but yeah, I went there. I've got a diploma in journalism. I understand the concepts of reporting news responsibly, presenting both sides of the argument. I've got a degree in history. Geez, all of that was about debate, understanding sources, and presenting an opinion based on facts. That's probably a big reason that I am the sort of YouTuber I am. But I'm not that sort. I'm not like a typical YouTuber, I suppose. I'm not a typical influencer. I don't give a shit about the spotlight. I don't give a shit about that. I'd rather not get it. I'm fine as it is, and I'm fine with the community that we're building. So drop a like on the video as well, by the way, if you do enjoy it and you do enjoy the conversations that we have, because I do. I'm looking forward to starting that podcast. Going back to this article here, because we have been talking for a while and I still haven't got to the bottom of it. There is a split over Poch and Ten Hag, which we all know. Now, this is a really interesting part, right? So I'll save this bit for now. Poch would not require an adjustment to the Premier League, to a club of Manchester United's scale, or even having to pit his wits against Guardiola or Klopp. He's seen as a concrete choice to rival City and Tuchel and Liverpool, given he stacked up well to the former two while on severely restricted resources at Spurs. I swear, maybe I've read this before I came on here, but I didn't read that there. That's exactly what I've just said there. Let's not try and pretend that Poch has been a bad manager. Simply because he's failed at the very end doesn't mean he's a bad manager, right? Because it's just not true. His work at Spurs, Southampton, and Espanyol have been given more attention than the spell at PSG, but the problem has not been the manager, as the successes of Ancelotti, Emery, and Tuchel after departing have proven. I think that's true too. United are aware that Ten Hag is the popular choice, and the Overmars scandal has made it easier to prize him from Ajax. However, there remains question marks over how he would function in a completely different structure at a club of United's size, stature, and unrelenting pressure and attention as United. So, Leslie, Poch to Porch to Pooch. That is a good timeline. What Pooch, though? Plenty of Pooches you could choose from. I like a Weimaraner. Great looking dog. Grey ones with the blue eyes. Beautiful dog. Jamie, do you believe that we can attract top players if we don't get Champions League football? Yes, we can. I don't believe that's going to be too much of an issue, Jamie. We've done it quite a few times now, post Fergie retiring, and we've never really struggled in any window, have we? But United, but that boils back to the question. Boils? That's not right. Goes back to the question of Manchester United signing players for the right reasons and players coming to Manchester United for the right reasons. Players whose mantra of success is not money, but glory and silverware and trophies. And that's what we need at Manchester United, right? Because we need to move away from those players like Di Maria, like probably Ibrahimovic, but a little bit unfair on Ibrahimovic because he was fantastic that season. He really was. Just there's been a lot of players who came to Manchester United purely for the payday. Alexis Sanchez and Di Maria, probably the two greatest examples of failures in that regard. We need to move away from those and people who are driven by winning and get that mentality into the squad. That's something we really, really need to do. Jibak here saying, Sam, on the other hand, he had unlimited resources at PSG. Hasn't exactly pulled up trees. Maybe he's an OP Moyes. Really not convinced with Poch. And I think the concerns about Poch are as fair as the concerns about Ten Hag. That's what I mean. I think it's a pretty balanced situation. People are going to point towards the failures of Poch in the Champions League final, of Poch getting to nearly winning the Premier League. But on the other hand, you can say, what do you mean? He nearly won the Premier League with Spurs. No one's ever done that before. Seriously. He got Spurs to the Champions League final. No one's ever done that before. So it depends on your success, your measure of success. Ultimately, as United fans, our measure of success is winning the Premier League and winning the Champions League, which is why we think that Poch is a failure. But fuck, no one's got us anywhere near close to that in the last 8-9 years. Really. Gungshi, I appreciate this, buddy. Nice to see you there this morning. Hiding, lurking in the background with your cat. Nothing to say except keep up the good work. Thank you very much. I really do love the community that we've built here. And I've said this all along, and I keep saying it, and I keep not being able to do it. But I'm going to start doing the members-only content. There's so many members who have helped the channel grow so much, and I want to give back to you. So the weekly Q&As, maybe I'll start one this weekend, I don't know what time or day we'll do it. I'm going to start doing the different sorts of shows, maybe one show a week in the evenings where it's a few people speaking, because at the moment it's just all me, isn't it? And that's kind of the weird thing about United People's TV. You look at all the other channels, and there's a lot of other channels, and some of the work that they do is good. Look, Stretford Paddock, I like plenty of what they do. I think they're like-minded-ish fans, and I think a lot of what they do is decent. I don't personally agree with a lot of what Goldbridge does. I don't like the entertainment. The fact that the entertainment factor is more important than accurate reporting on his football club. That's what I don't like. That's why I don't like what he does. But there's no doubt that anybody can argue about the success that he's had. Each to their own, and I'll do my own way. But yeah, I like the community that we built here. I really do enjoy it. Let's wrap up here with a couple of points, but exactly what we're talking about there, right? In terms of bringing the right players in, for the right reasons. This man, Paulo Dybala, is going to be leaving Juventus on a free transfer in the summer. It's been confirmed. Juventus have confirmed that the negotiations have broken down over contract. Now, he's 28. Let's be honest, he's a world-class player. Is he the sort of the signing that Manchester United need? No, absolutely not. I couldn't want Manchester United to look any further away from Dybala. It would be the exact type of signing we do not need. We don't need a 28-year-old, already world-class player who's injury-prone, who's looking for his last big contract. It's the wrong sort of signing. I've got no doubt that I reckon he should go Spurs, by the way. I've got no doubt that he will be a good player where he goes, but it's not what we need at this time to take us forward. All right? Dybala shouldn't be involved in that conversation. Simple as that. And Jonathan, as you're saying there, we already have a number 10. Exactly that too. I'd rather go for Nkunku. So would I. Absolutely, so would I. He's a good player. We need a right winger. I know we need a right winger, of course. You're saying my gut tells me Dybala is one of those that would struggle outside Serie A. Hey, look, man, but regardless of whether or not he would be a success at Manchester United, and it's a big if, and you can say that about every player, right? So that's kind of unfair to say there. It's just not the type of signing we need. We need players in the age bracket of, in my opinion, 20 to 24. That's the ideal age bracket, really. Any younger, and they probably haven't had too much of, they're basically brand new at Manchester United. Even 20 is pretty young. But we need players who are, in 2-3 years' time, are going to be towards the top of their game. Not people who are at the age now where they're not really going to get any better. Simple as that. That's my opinion anyway. My mate at JV said that they are looking up to free up the salary to buy Pogba capital for they probably are, to be fair. And Pogba, let's be honest, he's leaving Manchester United. Creighton Chetty, how you doing here? What's your take on the Rashford situation? Do you think he just wants a bigger contract, or he really wants to leave? I don't know how much truth there is in that Rashford situation. Rashford is, because of him coming through the academy, because of what he's done for Manchester United, because of the attitude he has had, he's got more grace than most players with United fans. United fans will take longer to lose patience with Rashford than they would be to lose patience with Cavani or other players like that. I don't personally think he wants to leave, but I also know he has got to buck up for sure. Question to ask: why are Juve not offering him the contract he wants? It's like the Bayern thing. You don't get Bayern players, and yeah, look, it's a good point about Bayern. Man, I wish we signed Schweinsteiger like 7 years before we did. Schweinsteiger was one player I always watched around Europe, and I was like, I would love it if we signed Schweinsteiger. And when we did, and we signed Schneiderlin, and by the way, when we signed Schneiderlin, that has to be one of the most frustrating signings we've ever made. When we signed him from Southampton, he was legitimately one of the best holding powerful central midfielders in the Premier League. I think it was under Poch where he shone. Not sure there. I might be wrong in that one. But he just disappeared at United. He disappeared at Everton. He just disappeared. Absolutely disappeared. let me see if there's any more talking points, and we'll probably wrap this one up. I had some other talking points here this morning, but we really kind of got distracted by what we were talking about. But look, thank you very much for everyone joining in. Gungshi, thank you very much for your super chat. Thank you very much for your super chats earlier as well. Thank you very much for all the support you give the channel. Big up to all the members who joined the WhatsApp group this morning. If you're a member and you haven't joined the WhatsApp group, A, what are you doing? Come on. B, check out the community tab on YouTube, or if you're on Facebook, go to the member supporters page, and there's a link on there. Just click that. You come straight through into the WhatsApp group. Nearly a couple hundred of us in there, but there's plenty more members that haven't already joined. I want to get everybody in there. As I said, we're going to be starting the members-only content very, very soon. I'll be back here later today with a separate video. I might do the Poch philosophy video. I might not. I'm a little bit undecided as of yet. I'm going to go for a walk after this, and then I'll decide. But anyway, big up to everyone who joined in. I'll see you soon. But go and enjoy the sunshine. Seriously, don't sit indoors.